What someone is like on the inside should match what they're like on the outside. And that's what this series is about. For the next few weeks, we're going to talk about what it means to be real about our faith and let what Jesus has done on the inside of us change the way we live on the outside. One of the main reasons why people don't want to follow Jesus is because when Christians say they believe, it oftentimes doesn't change how they act. You've probably heard of people using words like fake or hypocrite to describe Christians. And that's hurtful. But sometimes it's true, isn't it? Of course, the opposite is true too. You probably know some people who are so in love with their faith and so changed by Jesus that they make others want to become a Christian, which leads to a pretty important question. What makes a Christian contagious? I mean, what makes them appealing or inspiring? I think there are going to be a lot of reasons, but one of which could be that they actually enjoy walking with God and caring for others. Their faith seems like an adventure, not a burden. I think it's possible that some people aren't that interested in Christianity because some Christians are just plain boring. I'm not saying every Christian should be the life of the party. I just wonder if a big reason people don't find Christianity appealing is because Christians aren't appealing. Their lives are so focused on rules and checklists that they don't have any joy. But what if it was never supposed to be this way when it comes to our faith and the reputation of Christians? I want to take a look at a time when Jesus is with his disciples after his death and resurrection. And even though Jesus' followers didn't know that this would be their last conversation with Jesus, Jesus did. And that makes me think he would have been super intentional with his message. This was his big farewell, and we have access to Jesus' final words to his disciples thanks to Matthew's gospel. Jesus came and told his disciples, "I have been given all authority in heaven and on earth. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Teach these new disciples to obey all the commands I have given you." All right, right out of the gate, Jesus reminds them of who he is. It's like he was saying, "Guys, I've defeated death. That's why what I say matters more than what anyone else says. So you should really pay attention to what I'm saying." This is the moment when Jesus' followers would have held up their phones to record everything he said so they could watch it over and over again later. He told them to make disciples and baptize them, which sounds pretty strange because obviously you can't go around making someone become a follower of Jesus. I mean, you can't just walk up to some random strangers and baptize them, although that would be pretty hilarious to watch people's reactions. The only thing you can do with people is invite them into something really personal that you've experienced, something that's affecting your own life. And when we invite people into that, we are making disciples, even if we don't call it that. So to sum up Jesus' final words to his followers, he was basically saying, go and be excited about me with people you know. Jesus didn't say, make sure you learn enough to have all the answers. He didn't say, go out and talk about all the things you're against. He didn't say, go judge people and make them feel guilty. Go and be excited about Jesus around the people you know. Now, I know some of you may be thinking, how do I do that? Won't that be weird? What am I supposed to say? Am I going to lose friends over this? And these are all good questions. And I bet Jesus' followers had questions like that too. But they also had questions like, are we going to be murdered for this? And that was a real possibility for them. And Jesus then gives them this last phrase, and be sure of this, I am with you always, even to the end of the age. This was Jesus' way of saying, I got you. No need to get all worked up, stressed out, and afraid. I'll be with you. And in case you've forgotten, I've defeated death. I can defeat anything that threatens you. You'll be fine as long as I'm with you. So let's sum it up again. Go and be excited about me around the people you know, and never forget, I've got you. So what does that mean for us? Let's look at the first thing Jesus' disciples did after Jesus said this and went back to heaven. While he was blessing them, he left them and was taken up to heaven. So they worshiped him and then returned to Jerusalem filled with great joy. So the first thing they did was get excited about who Jesus is. They worshiped him, which basically means they complimented him for how good he is and what they knew to be true about him. Starting from the inside out didn't mean that Jesus' followers immediately preached to people, took a stand against things, or created Bible studies and Christian clubs. Their response from the inside out started by simply admiring God for his goodness. In the same way, when Jesus tells you and me to go and make disciples of all nations, it doesn't start with witnessing or evangelism. It starts with you and me showing gratitude, appreciation, and respect for how good Jesus is. The next thing they did was return home filled with great joy. Now, notice that they didn't return home with all the answers. Return home and call out people who didn't follow Jesus. Return home and create a social media plan with the hashtag Stop Sinning. Nope. They return home with a smile on their faces, which brings us to the big point. Joy points people to Jesus. Whatever you and I are excited about on the inside will influence the people around us on the outside. You and I see this all the time. It may be the reason why you're involved in something right now. When you and I make a decision to worship Jesus and allow His joy to fill our lives, that's when we start living out the Great Commission. That's when we start making disciples. Not because we force them to follow Jesus, but we compel them to want to follow Jesus because they want to have the joy we have. Of course, there's one little problem with this idea. What if you don't feel joy in your relationship with Jesus? What if you're not excited about it? Do you fake being excited? Well, first of all, you need to know that not feeling joyful is okay. Actually, it's normal. You need to know that your faith will go through seasons of highs and lows. When you aren't feeling joyful or incredibly excited, pretending isn't the answer. Because just like joy and excitement draw people, fakeness pushes them away. So don't be something you're not. Instead, be honest with yourself about where you are and decide to do your part to not stay stuck there. If you're feeling a little bored with your faith, try to do something different to shake things up. For example, find something God did in nature that amazes you. Maybe it's spending time outside. Find something God did in people that amazes you. Ask your parents or your life group leader to share stories of what God has done in their lives. And seeing Him at work is a great way to remember how He is at work in your own life. Find a new way to connect with God. So you already pray. Awesome. Try going outside to pray or journal or make a worship playlist and listen to it on the way to school. And the bottom line is there's no formula to this. If we want to have joy on the outside, we need to experience it on the inside. Finding joy in Jesus is more caught than taught. It's like a contagion that you have to expose yourself to and experience for yourself. So don't fake it until you make it, because the joy that is contagious isn't pretend or forced on others. It starts by us focusing on Him and enjoying Him. That kind of joy is contagious. And it's genuine joy that will point people to Jesus.